technology is to our success in our profession. So we have some different perspectives today from our panel, and what I'd like to do is introduce them and have them speak, and then at the end we'll take questions. So our first speaker today is Ron Phipps. Ron, for most of us, needs no introduction. As you know, he is the immediate past president of the National Association of Realtors. NAR is the voice for real estate. It's America's largest trade association, representing 1.1 members involved in all aspects of real estate, commercial and residential. For 32 years, Ron has been a principal broker of Phipps Realty in Warwick, Rhode Island, and he's been very involved in NAR for many years, and he's asking me to cut it short. So I'll just say we're very lucky to have Ron Phipps here, our Florida Ironman, Boston Marathon, and Save the Bay champion.
Thank you, Judy.
Ron.
It is a distinct pleasure to be with you here in St. Petersburg. I am very much struck by what a rich culture St. Petersburg is. And in the last couple of days, I've had an opportunity to see not merely the architecture, not merely the art, but also to listen to great music. And I would like to give you an analogy, a parable, about how music and technology are very similar. Think about noise and sound. Noise and sound. Music is a way of organizing noise and sound into harmonies and octaves and chords. Technology serves the same purpose. What it does, very simply, is creates the architecture with which we engage each other. I'm also very much aware that there was a French paleontologist, a gentleman named Pierre Desjardins, who 70 years ago talked about a collective consciousness. Now, 70 years ago, we did have phones. We did have books. We had publishing. But we did not have the collective consciousness that technology has enabled. Think about it. It used to be that our information was print medium, that someone had to actually tell us in person or deliver something in writing for us to know. And now we not only get information literally in real time, with a capital R and a capital T, real time, but we also have the opportunity through technology to engage, to respond. That is an amazing opportunity. And what it does, it strips away all of the barriers that we know that rivers, oceans, walls, languages, cultures, traditions, and religions created. They get stripped away. And now what we are doing is simply sharing information. We are in not the worst of times, but the best of times. Because that experience that Michael just talked about, that sharing of experience can happen in a very real way. We can learn from each other's mistakes as well as our successes. That is particularly exciting. And we don't learn about them in 5 years or in history books talking about what happened 20 years ago or 50 years ago. We learn about them today. I'm also very much aware of the presentation we had earlier today by Professor DeSoto. He talked about the fact that we don't actually know what's going on. And I think that is a profound contrast to the ability of the technology to tell us what's going on. So we need to be masters who marshal what technology does and make sure that technology is not used to hide or disguise the reality. I'd also like to share with you what, in an immediate sense, we as real estate practitioners need to do. We need to make certain that the tools we engage in real estate have benefit in the larger sense to our communities, our neighborhoods, our locales, but in an immediate sense to our members. Last year, I had the privilege of representing the National Association of Realtors. Just over 1 million members domestically, and we have over 90 global partners. We are finally realizing that our future is global. It's not limited to 50 states and a few territories. But we also understand that our members need to be effective in their ability to communicate and use technology that is effective for them. So one of the things that we invested a significant amount of money on is a project called RPR, the Realtors Property Resource. What it does, it enables realtors to open up a password-protected file that has 143 million individual parcels of land in the United States. So you can give me any address, and from my iPad or my laptop, I can open up that property, I can get an automated valuation, I can get the history of sales on the property, I can find out what's owed on the property, and I actually can get an amazing amount of psychographics about the people who live there, and frankly, any unusual things about the property. Ultimately, we look to have environmental information on there, as well as health information, etc. It is less than 2 years old. More than 600,000 of our million members have access to it in an immediate basis. It's one of those technology tools, by the way, it's included in our dues, which is always a good thing. If people think they're not paying for it, it sometimes has even more value than if they're paying extra for it. But one of the amazing, exciting things is as real estate practitioners, particularly on the residential side, they have somebody else that is identifying the value. Now, in many markets in the United States, we've had significant price correction. It's much better for me to go to someone I had worked with 5 or 6 years ago who paid more for a property rather than me talking about the fact that they had lost $20,000, $30,000, or $40,000 to have this report indicate what the real value of the property is. And my role is actually exciting because I can talk how we may not need to forego $40,000, maybe we only forego $30,000. It is a very powerful tool that is realtor-facing. It has real value for our members, our customers, and our clients. There's also another thing that technology has enabled us to do, and it's a particularly exciting thing. When the great universities were founded, there was an expectation that you had to go physically to university in order to study. One of the amazing things about remote learning is that you can learn and be engaged truly in an academic environment from any place on the earth, from the North Pole to the South Pole. And you can be working with the most brilliant people in the profession. So the technology has enabled the National Association of Realtors to found a university. This year we've accepted our first class. The program is a master's degree program in real estate. We were fascinated when we did our marketing studies that there's 60 academic programs in the States specifically focused on real estate. And all of them focus on 2 elements. One is on real estate finance. The other one is on construction management. None of them focus on the business of brokerage. Now, in the States, there are 5 million transactions a year. And certainly, professionalism in the industry would benefit from academic study. And one of the best elements of the new university is the research center that we really, really are excited about. Technology has enabled us to do that. The final thing I'd like to share with you about technology specifically is that in the States, we had a consumer-facing website called Realtor.com. It's been very effective. It has our brand. It's enabled us to make sure that properties in my home state in Rhode Island could be seen by anyone around the world, but our primary market focus was domestically. This last year, we really made progress in making Realtor.com global. It now actually has 7 languages, so that regardless of what language you speak, you have the opportunity of looking at the information, Russian is one of the languages that we actually have included, which is particularly helpful. So Russian investment is very welcome in the States, and particularly in Rhode Island. I know someone who can help you in that regard. But in addition to that, we have now 18 global partners that are posting their listings on Realtor.com. The market is global. In the next 2 weeks, we expect 2 more to join us. Right now, there are approximately 4 million properties on Realtor.com. Of that, about 1.2 million are outside of the United States. We are working very closely with FIABCI at this meeting and over the next few weeks to make sure that the Realtor.com avenue will be available for members. There's some issues we are working through right now. We are extremely excited about that. The Code of Ethics of the National Association of Realtors starts out with a very simple observation. Under all is the land. Under all is the land. It does not matter whether we're here in St. Petersburg, we're in New York, we're in Taipei, we're in Rio. The land is universal. We believe that the technology that is enabling us to share experience and wisdom in an immediate sense is going to accelerate us into a real estate renaissance. We are certainly not ignoring the challenges of the financial markets, but our ability to work together to figure out what is a success and forward that is particularly exciting. I would close with an obvious observation. Music doesn't know language. It's human. It's human. Technology is not limited by language. It's universal. We breathe the same air. We walk on the same planet. We have an opportunity to make amazing music together with the effective application of technology. And with that, I thank you.
Ron, thank you very much. Our next speaker, once again, is no stranger to FIABCI. You'll find him on the regular FIABCI circuit. Robert Spicer is Executive Vice President and Global Development Director of Proxio, Inc. He's an international commercial and intellectual property lawyer qualified in the U.S. He's also a solicitor in England and Wales. You know his background is he's been active in Fortune 500 companies responsible for business strategy and new market development in the technology area. And I will turn it over to you, Robert.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you very much. Firstly, I've got only 10 to 15 minutes, so I'm going to make this very quick. I've promised Judy that I'd only spend 10 or 15 minutes here. Firstly, I'd like to thank FIABCI for inviting me back again to speak with the members. In case some of you are wondering who Proxio is, we are a technology company that provides services to FIABCI members worldwide. These services are made available to all of you who are FIABCI members, and these services are free to you, and they create terrific value in your ability to run your brokerage business or just to facilitate the purchase and sale of real property, those transactions. I'm going to run through a couple of slides to talk about what Proxio is, who we are, and then during the discussions after, we can answer any questions. Also, I'm holding a workshop tomorrow to help anybody sort out any issues that they're having with the Proxio service, if indeed you are. I'd like to recognize a few people before I begin. Certainly Judy, the incoming president. Hello. Alex, the outgoing president. Great job. Congratulations. Well done. Well done. I'd like to also recognize the Brazilian contingent that I see here. Claudio, Flavio, Larte, and a few others are here. And some of our French friends are here as well in the audience, I know. Okay, so to begin, So first of all, what I'd like to do is build a story as to why Proxio is important to you as brokers and agents. When we began the service in 2008, we translated all of the listings into 5 languages. Let me see if there's a pointer on this. Into 5 languages. And we were in 14 countries. We had brokers working in 14 countries on the system. And then we had some other statistics here. If you compare that to today, we have brokers in 135 countries using this platform to transact business. We translate everything into 19 languages, and the total property value within the platform on a global basis is about $38 billion. So you can see over a relatively short period of time, we've had amazing success in growing the volume on the platform, the Proxio platform. The reason this is very important to you is because as a broker and a FIABCI member, you have access to all of these statistics for free. You can go in and start to network with the 500,000 agents that are there waiting to do business with you around the world. You can organize your properties, you can market them worldwide, and it's there, it's free. All you have to do is use it. Why is this a useful system? Well, I've done this diagram here in light of the recent IPOs, the recent technology companies, mainly in the US, going to the capital markets. LinkedIn, as you know, the professional networking company, went public last year. Facebook is set to go public this year. We have some sites here, some MLSs, some property sites, and associations here. And what this graph shows, very simply, is websites, you can list your inventory, you can access properties. Social media sites, you can connect with other people. But there's really only one technology, only one platform available that allows you to do both, that allows you to list your inventory and have access to your inventory and to connect with other agents around the world. So these 2 people here represent you. This is actually where you sit on this graph. So you can list your properties and connect as you would in a social environment. And that's very, very powerful. It's a very powerful story as you as a broker to your client. We're a really great company with a lot of experience, very senior people running it. So that's what this slide says. Okay, so essentially what we are doing, what Proxio's overall strategy is to organize the global real estate markets. And in order to do that, we're not looking at each individual country and trying to organize each individual country. What we're doing is we're saying, let's build a community of associations around the world and standardize the way that people work together. You can increase professionalism, you can work better, you can increase sales. There are many, many benefits that you have access to by combining this working environment. Again, increasing professionalization is very important. Ron's excellent presentation focused on something very interesting what I thought was very, very interesting. Even Ron is saying that the US market will further professionalize. Ron and I both know as we travel around the world and we talk to associations around the world, they're so far behind what's happening in the US in terms of professionalization. But it's fantastic that in the US you keep moving forward, you keep professionalizing. And that's what we want to do in other countries around the world. We want to bring other countries up in terms of the professionalization and allow them to be successful in dealing with real estate transactions across the globe. That's what this is about. It's about the industry, not about the individual. Down to the individual, from the industry, we have a lot of benefits to the agents. They can increase their sales. They can organize their selling process. They don't need several different pieces of software and devices and technologies to help them. we'll have a presentation in a little while that talks about really interesting ways to use technology in the practice. But with Proxio, what you're doing is you're really coordinating all of your efforts, all of your sales efforts in one place, and using that as a springboard to launch into different areas. So very quickly, there are 3 parts to Proxio. There's the management, which some of you are probably not interested in, what happens in the guts of the system, but also what we do in terms of the external part to the system. A traditional MLS really isn't interesting in the international markets because there's very few exclusivity contracts. When you increase the functionality of a traditional MLS to include those features that allow it to be used, like privacy layers and so on, you can also add very interesting areas like syndication to private and public websites. So one of the areas that Proxio is very successful at is syndicating out to different types of websites that we make for our customers and you individually. If you contact us, we'll provide you with a website, but also to a whole host of other public websites. So we don't have to worry about actually changing information and doing all of that. We standardize all of the information and allow our agents to push it to many different endpoints, which makes this a truly business-to-business platform working with business-to-consumer entities, helping the agents market their properties in the consumer space on the internet. We also use, very effectively, social media. So we understand that a lot of you are looking for ways of differentiating your business using the latest technology tools. And John will talk about that in a little while. He'll talk about some social media aspects. Proxio has spent a great deal of time and effort developing the technologies to integrate and use social media. And again, you have access to all of these things today. All you have to do is go to the website and sign in and start using it. There's nothing stopping you, nothing to buy, nothing to do, just go and use it. The last thing that I want to talk about, just very briefly, is that as well as working with individual agents, actually what we like to do is to help the larger brokerages work more effectively. This also creates a foundation for professionalization of the market because agencies are able to control their future better using a system like this. And so you don't get those high attrition rates of brokers and agents coming through the door, being trained, and then leaving, because you have a tool that helps you manage your properties, the sales, and so on. So that's all I'm going to say today. We have a workshop happening tomorrow in the marketing session, and I'm going to make myself available. I'm also available out here. If you drop me a business card, I'll be happy to respond to you very quickly. Thank you very much.
I just want you all to make a note that Proxio is a real benefit that FIABCI members receive for their dues. And I've heard so many people say, we need this, we need that, we need this platform, and we have it. We really have it through Proxio. So I urge you to, if you don't use it, to go to the workshop with Robert and learn how to use it. Now I'd like to turn to John Mayfield, who is also no stranger to FIABCI. And his bio is in your book, so I will just briefly tell you that he has been a realtor since age 18. He's a writer, a lecturer, and a consultant in the U.S. and throughout the world. John?
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here. There have been some great talks today and lots of good information. And so I'm kind of known as the real estate tech guy, and I normally bring a lot of technology tools and ideas. So some of the tools I may go through very quickly. I know many of you are very tired, but I want to just add some value to your lives and your businesses and help you save time and make more money, because I think those are always important parts of technology. And I just remembered I should slow down because we have translators, so I will try to speak slowly as well. Well, I love an author in the United States by the name of John Maxwell. And John Maxwell has some wonderful books on management, leadership. And one of the interesting quotes that John Maxwell has is that we are only as strong as our weakest link. And I think if you meditate on that and you really ask yourself, well, what is my weak link? It's interesting that we can all have some weak links and some items in our lives that we need to make a little better. So with regards to technology, I just want to ask you, what is a weak link for you? Is it from a communication standpoint? Is it from an organizational standpoint? For many, it may be security. And so I want to just share with you today 3 different areas with technology and how you can not only become better with organization, but your paperless and mobile environments, and then also how to stand out in a digital world. So let's start by looking at what's the future of technology. And I've used these slides before, but I think it's very important for us to understand that mobile is really the future. That's where we're going with technology. If you didn't know this, right now more people access the internet from a smartphone, from a cell phone, than they do from a traditional laptop computer or desktop computer. I have 2 daughters, 21 and 23. They would always want my hand-me-down laptops, and today they do everything off of an iPhone or an Android. Watching video off of YouTube, according to them, has been one of the biggest increases this year. Something like 30%. More people watch videos, and they're using their smartphones to find information. So, look at the number of people on the planet. There are approximately 6 billion people and about 4.8 billion mobile phone users. It's over 90% in the United States and the UK. Here's the real strange thing. Do you know that more people own a mobile phone than they do a toothbrush? So people love their mobile phones, and mobile phones are big. There's only a very small percentage of people who are doing any mobile marketing. So the first part of my presentation I want to talk to you about is how can you take advantage, you and I, of mobile marketing with our real estate companies. Now, I've been using this. I discovered this a few months ago when I went to a Google seminar. And I've been using it in my business, and I've been fascinated by the number of leads that I'm getting off of the mobile marketing. So, some of you may ask, why do I want to do marketing through Google and mobilely? Well, there are over 2 billion searches every day on Google. So here's how we can take advantage of this. On this screen right here, I set up a Google ad for Farmington, Missouri. That's where I'm from. So I'm going to show you how you can set up an ad, not only for your location, but also by the device. So think about this. You put an ad on Google, and you say to Google, I only want my ad to show up if someone's looking for real estate or farms and land or apartment buildings or whatever they're looking for. And I only want it to show up if they're doing the search on a mobile device like this or a tablet. And you drill down further and you say, Google, I only want my ad to show up if they are physically in my location or within a certain radius. So it's very fascinating. We'll kind of go through this. There's a key to all of this. If you're going to do this, you've got to have a good landing page, or your site needs to be a mobile website. So how can we do this? And I'll walk you through the steps one by one. The first thing you want to do is set up a Google account. It's free. It does not cost you anything. So you would go to Google, and you would sign up for a free account. They will ask you some basic information, and once you've signed up, you're ready to log in. So we're at step 3. We want to create an ad. So there's a little button right where I have the round circle where you would create a new campaign. So we would select create a new campaign, and then we would create our ad. At this point, you would write your ad copy, and there are some specific things you want to do when you're writing your ad copy. And by the way, I've done some webinars that I'd be happy to share with you for free where we talk about content and I show you step by step how we go through and do this. You preview your ad, you create some keywords. For example, I have a farm right now that I'm running that I'm specifically targeting Argentina buyers, because there are many folks from Argentina who are coming into the United States and buying horse farms. So you can create an ad if you have a piece of property and market it toward a specific location and, as we will see, a specific category of people. Google has a free, what they call keyword tool that you can use. So you go into the keyword tool, you give Google a list of words, and Google will then come back and say, those words are pretty good, but have you ever thought about these words? Once we put the keywords in, we're ready to enter our location and select if we want this to show up on mobile phones or tablet devices, and our ad is ready to go. Set your budget, and your ad's ready to appear. So now our ads are going to appear, but what we're in essence doing is we're target marketing a small group of people who have a need for what you're trying to sell. And the results are fascinating when you do this. The really interesting thing about this is you only pay if they click on your ad. So instead of spending thousands of dollars trying to cast your net out over a larger parcel, you can spend less money and target in on the folks who are actually out there searching horse farms for sale in the United States, or I need to invest in an apartment building, or options for investing outside the United States. And when a person puts any of those Google keywords in, your ad could literally appear, and they could click on that, and that could mean dollars for you. So again, I have more webinars and information I can share with you on this. Here's a new concept that Google's doing, and I just learned about this a few weeks ago, and Google has not been doing it for a long time, but it's called Google remarketing. What they do with this, and it almost seems illegal, but it isn't, you go out and you pick out your area and some key information about what you're selling. Google gives you a small piece of code, web code, and you right-click and copy that, and then you paste that into your website. Now, when a visitor comes to your website, they're searching, they come to Alex's website, perhaps they get distracted, or they're just there for a moment and they leave Alex's website. Now they go to another website. Well, what Alex has done through Google remarketing is he said to Google, if anybody stops by my website and they have this cookie on their machine, will you throw my ad out there on other various websites they may go to? Here's an example of where I did a search on a news channel in the United States, and a Branson ad appears over to the right. Now, that's a national publication, but literally my ad is now appearing there because somehow I have visited a website and a cookie was installed on my machine, and so they're trying to get me to go to Branson. There was a gentleman at a webinar, seminar I was at in Nashville, Tennessee, who was there from a marketing company, and he was talking about this, and he said the real estate companies we have been doing this for are having phenomenal results with this Google remarketing. And it literally is there. A lot of people just don't know about it. So again, what I want us to kind of go into here and let you understand is the world is basically in your hands, but people are out there coming to your website and taking a look around and leaving. And the question I have for you is, are you capturing those leads? Think about someone walking into your office. Wouldn't we want to shake their hand, introduce ourselves, try to get their name, their phone number, an email, and then what would we want to do as a real estate professional? Stay in touch with them. Well, we have people coming into our real estate office in the cloud and walking out the door, and we're never getting any information about them. So let me show you a couple of concepts that I want to share with you on how this can happen. Now, in the United States, what I have highlighted there are pay-per-click advertising. And this is for the search auto insurance. By the way, insurance companies pay about $48, $50 a click for those ads right there. Take a look at State Farm. This is State Farm's landing page. This is called a landing page, and I want you to think about these topics over the next few slides. If you go to State Farm, they're wanting you to put your zip code in. They're going to ask you a few questions, and what they are really doing is getting your information. If you go to State Farm's website, that's a totally different web page, isn't it? So the landing page is very important, and you need to think about that in terms of as a real estate company. I did a search, homes for sale, on my mobile phone in my zip code, and there's my ad that appeared, search for homes. When you select that ad, it immediately takes you to my mobile-ready website. So that's the first question you have to ask yourself. Is my website mobile capable, or does it convert to a mobile website? If it does not, don't worry, you can still sell property through companies like Listing Domains. Now, this is a very interesting site, and I started using it. It's about $50 US, and what Listing Domains does is it gives you a unique domain name. So you could have any name you want, and you will have a single property website for that one property. But the best part about it is it will convert to a mobile website automatically for you. So here's a farm I have listed. It's called, I gave it the website 900 Acre Ozark Farm. If you want to go on your web phone or on your smartphone, you could search for that, and it will literally take you to the mobile version of that. So you can have landing pages if your website's not capable of doing that, very reasonable, and Listing Domains is one example of that. Here's an example of capturing information from my website, and I use a company called AWeber. So if you want to incorporate something to begin capturing information, AWeber is an excellent tool. AWeber allows you to create this module or widget, and then they will handle the database, collect the names, and then you can create customized newsletters and tell AWeber when you want the newsletter to go out. And now I can stay in touch with my customers and clients on an ongoing basis. They say that in the United States, most home buyers take between 8 to 12 weeks before they make a purchase. So if they're visiting your website one time, if you can capture the information and then stay in touch with them, AWeber's a wonderful solution to do that. And you can have literally up to 25,000 or more contacts to stay in touch. Another example of AWeber. So 3 things that I want you to look at there. Think mobile. Be specific on who you're targeting, and follow up with AWeber. Those are 3 areas. Now, let's go into some tools, and I'll quickly go through some of these. And by the way, I have an interesting tool I'm going to show you, and I will put this PowerPoint with this tool that I will show you on my website so you can watch it and have links to all of the websites that I'll be showing you. So some of these I may go through a little quickly, but if you go to my website, which is Business Tech Guy or realestatetechguy.com, if you click on Resources and FIABCI, I'll have lots of free information for you there. So this is how many of you have or wish you had the iPhone that has what's called Siri, where you ask Siri questions or you ask Siri to remind you things? Well, this is the application for those of us who don't have Siri. It's a very interesting application, and it's called Recall. And I got this idea from an organizational expert, but you literally, when you're out in the field or mobile, you can make notes or give information, and Recall will organize all this for you in the cloud and let you know. VoiceThread is another interesting application, and it's cloud-based, but it allows you the opportunity to, if you had a committee meeting and you were working in groups of people, I could leave my thoughts verbally in the cloud, and then Ron could come along and leave his information through a voice. And so rather than typing out long, drawn-out emails, we can give a voice comment and give our participation in that respect. So voice, it's free, and we like free applications, or I do. There is a small fee if you want an advanced, and they do have an iPad version as well. Evernote, a lot of you already know about Evernote. It's a way to store things in the cloud from voice or video or websites you visit. And this is an interesting little, especially if you travel internationally, an interesting app called Off Maps. You can go plan your trip out with Off Maps, and then it will record your directions and everything for you on your iPhone, so you don't have to use your data plan to get directions to where you're going. So a lot of times in other countries, when you travel, your data charges can be very expensive. With Off Maps, you can do that very reasonably. And Expensify is another. Anybody using Expensify on their smartphone? This is a great way to track your receipts. You can take a picture of receipts. It will organize, give you reports, and help you stay a little bit more up to date with all of your expenses and reports. Now, let's move over to photos, video, and mobile. There's lots of interesting apps. Some of you may have some of these on your iPhone. The first one is 360 Panorama. It does a marvelous job if you want to take 1, 2, 3 pictures and stitch those pictures together into one picture, 360 Panorama. And this is another good application I've used that does the same concept. Sometimes I've used this in my, when I have listings, because sometimes one picture just doesn't do it justice. You almost need to see a panoramic view of a field or so there's several applications for that. Several applications where you can create and tell a story. Now, one of the big things that you need to remember is that video and the mobile phone is going to be very important in the coming years. A program like this, and I've literally been able to get clients to give me their business because I was able to put a video or a movie together before we ever left the home. So you can take pictures, you can take video, put it together in a movie, and upload it to the internet all before you leave the client's property. Same way with this, Videolicious. This has gotten great reviews. It's very easy to use. And again, you would take pictures, take video, and then they actually just package it up and do the rest for you. So I've heard a lot of folks who've used that. And this is also a very popular application if you have an iPhone. It's called Photoshop Express, and it's for your iPhone, and it helps you touch up photos and does some amazing work in changing your lighting conditions and keeping those a little bit better. So Photoshop Express. And then when you have all of these videos out there, it's kind of interesting or it's good to have a place where you can store them besides YouTube. So there are a couple of solutions for this. One that I use is this one here called Screencast. And what I like about Screencast is I can create movies or a commercial and it will upload it to iTunes for me. So if you've ever wanted to have your own podcast on iTunes or to have your videos on iTunes, you can do that through Screencast, very easy. Now, a few cloud items I want to just talk about. How many of you are using Dropbox? So a number of you are, quite a few of you are not. If you don't have Dropbox, you should really consider looking at it. It's a free service for a certain amount of storage, but it is a great way for you to take files from your computer, put them on the cloud, and then have them available for your iPad and on your iPhone. A good example of how I use Dropbox, I took all of my travel information for FIABCI for the event, and I created a folder in Dropbox called for my trip. I put everything in there. When I got to the airport, when I got here, all of my information was right on my phone, and I was able to access that. Because once I put it from my computer into Dropbox, all of my devices stay synced. So it's a great feature, and I would encourage you to check it out. Go to my PC. When I was in Nashville, a lot of the young technology folks there in Nashville are using Go to My PC with Dropbox. And so they log into their computer from their phone or their tablet. They find the file they need from Go to My PC, and they drag the file and put it in Dropbox, and now they can pull it up and use it. So I tried this when I was on a recent trip to New York City, and I got on my iPad, logged into my computer at work, found a file, put it in Dropbox, and within moments I had it on my tablet, my iPad, and I was able to edit and work on that. Google could not buy out Dropbox. They wanted to purchase Dropbox, so they created their own Dropbox. And it's new. You have to type in Google Drive. They're giving away 5 gigabytes of space right now. But what's different about Google Drive is that it will keep a timed backup for 30 days. So if, I'll use Ron as an example, who speaks a lot and goes all over. If he had a presentation he created 2 days ago and then made a bunch of changes and didn't like the changes and wish he had a copy of that back, on Google Drive he can literally go back 2 days ago and pull up that old version and restore it. So it's an interesting concept Google's come out with. This is a very fascinating, if you're in the hotel room, a lot of us have iPads or phones. It's called connectivity. When you install connectivity on your computer, then it allows you to create a hotspot, and you can now connect other computers or mobile devices, and you can both share the same internet connection. So and you can just drag files back and forth. Very easy to use and very fascinating. Now, this is a brand new, a few more slides we'll go through. This is a brand new PowerPoint presentation. What's interesting about this is allows you to have your PowerPoint on the left side and your video on the right side. So now you can literally tell the story with your PowerPoint and be there visually. So I'm going to actually put this presentation in present.me on my website so that you can see all the slides and I can give you a little bit more information. And if you don't want to listen to my voice, you can just hit the mute button, and I'll put both versions up there for you, okay? But very fascinating, and this is one of my favorite new tools. It's called Flipping Book. I've been using this a lot. Now, keep in mind, more people are using iPads, iPhones. With Flipping Book, you can actually create an online digital magazine in no time. Now, normally I like to have my computer up here and I kind of show you this step by step, but I did some screenshots. You create your document in a PDF or a PowerPoint, and then you select import. It imports your document, and now you can create a digital magazine. So you can put links in the magazine, and I've got some examples of that. I also have a webinar where I show you how to do that step by step that I'll put a link for you to look at as well. Jing is another interesting program similar to all of those. I love Jing. I use it a lot. And Pinterest is an exciting, any Pinterest fans in here? It's one of the fastest growing websites in the United States right now. It's leveled off a little bit, but you actually create digital boards and you save things on it. A lot of real estate agents are creating digital boards and putting properties and information. So it's getting a lot of unique visitors every month. My wife loves Pinterest. She's on there. It's another way to reach out to folks and find potential buyers. Now, last few slides. Have you ever wanted to save some videos or documents offline and read them later if you were on the airplane? This is an application that allows you to do that. So it'll save the information offline, and then when you get on an airplane, you can actually read that information. Instagram and Postagram are ways to take pictures and send a postcard right from your iPhone. So one of the things that I've done is you can take a picture of a client in front of a home and then upload that picture, and it will put the copy in, thank you for your business. It'll send them a glossy postcard, and it's really for 99 cents. And it's a great way for you to say thanks, and it's a keepsake for them to have as well. Social media website, and this is an interesting little, if you ever wanted to find all the information on a particular topic, so maybe you were searching how to buy a home in France. You type that in, and they give you all the websites that would give you information about how to buy a home in France. So a lot of times I find a website and I think, gosh, I wish I could find more information like that. You can do that through similar site search as well. Google Voice is one of my favorite applications, and it's what I'm using right now while I'm in Russia. When people call my phone, it's forwarded to Google Voice because the international calling charges are very expensive. Google Voice transcribes the message, sends me a text, and then I can get on Skype and call the people back. So you can do a lot of other things with Google Voice. Umail is another program that does that as well. And then I want to wrap up just by saying that if you're going to go paperless and digital, make sure you have a good backup plan. Make sure you use a 12-character password because hacking software cannot crack 12 characters. So it's good to have a strong password. There are many website applications out there that will allow you to store your passwords, and sometimes those are user-friendly to have. So keep that in mind. Picasa is another favorite of mine. With Picasa, I literally take pictures of my listings, upload them to Picasa. Picasa sends them down to my tablet and my mobile phone, and I can select another button and send the video to YouTube and do that all in 5 minutes or less. I have a video or a webinar where I've actually show you how to do that step by step. And again, I'll put that online for you for free. This is like a buffet. I'm going to have lots of tools that you can go to my website, click on. There's no charge for them. And I always tell folks I'm here after the presentation to help you out as well. Scanner Pro you can use with your iPad or your iPhone and literally take a picture of a document and it converts it to a PDF. I had a builder who gave me a big survey and he wanted me to make a copy of it, and I didn't know how to make a copy of it, but I told him I would. And I took my iPhone, took a picture, we uploaded it to the Google Documents, printed it out, and my wife and I both were amazed at the quality of that document. So that's one of my favorite apps, Scanner Pro. And Zite, if you have an iPad and you're not using Zite, Z-I-T-E, you'll love it. Zite, you go out and you tell Zite what you're interested in. If you're interested in technology, land sales, whatever, Zite finds the articles, and it's a lot like Pandora Radio. When you like the article, you like it, and it goes out and finds more articles for you like that. And Dragon Dictation, many of you probably have that. It's a great tool. You hit the record button, dictate into your phone. It does an amazing job, and then you can text message that out, put it on your social media, and so forth. And this is a final one I have, Transfer Photos. This is an app I use all the time. Have you ever had photos on your iPad or your iPhone and you wanted to get them to a computer or vice versa? With this application, you can do that very easily. So you can just transfer photos right back and forth. So 3 things I want you to think about. Areas of your life, thinking mobily, organization, working in the cloud, using security. But ask yourself that question and remind yourself that you're only as strong as your weakest link. And, sometimes I've closed with that old story from the Acme Buggy Whip Company. I know a lot of times people say, oh, technology, and, you're showing a lot of things that I don't know if I want to do. But what happened to the Acme Buggy Whip Company in the 1900s? They sold buggy whips for horses. And when the automobile came along, there was no need for the Acme Buggy Whip. So I would remind you and encourage you to embrace technology and experiment and try some things. And as Ron said, that's the one thing we can all have in common with so many other things. And there's tools like Proxio that are out there today with networking. I am speaking next week in Warsaw, Poland, from networking through those types of platforms. So I encourage you to embrace technology, go out, and if I can ever help you, please feel free to email me, give me a call, go to my website. I'll have some more information there. But thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
John, thank you very much. I think we're all on overload at this point. I think our panel is ready to take questions. I'm sure you all have some questions for them. Microphone.
John, John. Как, наверное, may you have a earphone?
It will be better if I ask this question in Russian. We've heard lots of interesting things, and I'm listening to John for the 3rd time this year, and I don't have time to take notes. I'm listening for the 3rd time, and still I can't take notes, because every time he talks about so many new things. That's by way of a compliment. I have a question first to John and then to Robert. What do you think about the main tool of American real estate agent, MLS? How do you use MLS? what does your local MLS gives you in terms of promoting specific real estate projects? But don't say that your wife takes care of that.
That's a great question, and thank you. The MLS is such an important part of my business. When the consumer visits a real estate office in the United States, naturally the first thing we ask them are, their needs and wants, and find out a little bit about their desires for a real estate purchase. The second thing we do is go to the MLS, and we look for properties that might meet those criterias. I've been in real estate, as they mentioned earlier, since the age of 18 in 1978, and so I've operated in my community without an MLS and with an MLS. I remember back in the late 70s, early 80s in my area, when we wanted to start an MLS, people were very, they did not want to do that. And there were heated discussions. But in the end, it's been such an important tool for us. So through the MLS, I can share information with with clients I'm working with. It can help me in pricing property more effectively. And it is also a good tool for my clients because they are now exposed to more potential buyers. Now, and I hope I'm answering this question in the manner that you were looking for. So it's very important, plays a good role. And at the end of the day, I think it all washes out. I think the biggest fear when I speak to my friends in some of the other countries who do not have an MLS, and I'm going to Poland next week, and we've talked about that, they're very fearful that, well, if someone else sells it, I won't get as much commission. At the end of the day, and Robert and Ron, I'm sure, would agree with me, it all kind of just evens out and washes and is the same. So it's an important tool, and I use it daily, and it's very, very good for me. So,
Arthur, thank you for the question. Do I have to push through? Oh, I see. Sorry. Thank you for the question. An MLS in the United States, as John explained, is now a critical part of the real estate ecosystem. What Proxio is trying to do is bring some of those critical components very quickly to the international markets. We've recognized in the United States that, and we have history to speak for us, so this is good, that an MLS is a very useful tool, but also a tool that now has become a required tool if you want to do business in those markets. Because we have this historical learning path, it's very easy for us now to create the tools instantaneously. So we can learn from the US market, but also apply local rules and determine what the local imperatives, the local problems are, and solve those problems. So I think an MLS is absolutely critical. I would say that the US style of MLS will not work internationally. We have to slowly grow people and change people's mentalities and attitudes. And a very good friend of mine, João Cristana from Brazil, he talks about a solution, not a tool. So the MLS now has to be a complete country solution, not just a tool for brokers to use.
The only thing I'd add is that the MLS has been an expectation of consumers. And one of the reasons, particularly in the international markets, is that it gives me a double check for value, because I know that the price I'm being quoted is in fact the price. It creates an organization of real estate that results in consumer confidence. I would share with you that we started with multiple listings systems I think in 1908 or 1910 in the States. So we have a long, long history with it. What it is, though, is a broker-to-broker tool for cooperation and compensation. The majority of the United States works on an exclusive right of sale. That distinction versus an open listing is very relevant in the conversation. So to Robert's observation, when you don't have exclusive rights of sale and you have multiple people who have the listing, it makes it much more difficult for the multiple listing system that we know in the States to work elsewhere.
Thank you. Do we have another question? Yes.
Hold it closer. Okay. About the mobile websites, which I agree completely. So I have a fantastic PC-based website. What are the steps necessary to get a mobile version of that? Are there widgets? Is it easy? Is it a whole nother system?
That's a great question. Actually, it's not very difficult to do. It just requires someone who does some programming to literally go in and indicate or put some code on your website that informs the server that if someone is on this type of a platform, convert to your mobile website. So there are companies that can do that for you. Another great website, I saw this and a lot of people use this. It's called Fiverr, Fiverr. And people that do things for $5, it's probably not, it would not cost that much to have done. But the unfortunate part is a lot of folks don't realize many websites go ahead and do that because their programmers keep that up to date. But some websites do not do that, and I see a lot of brokerage offices that still their old-fashioned website pops up on a mobile device. So yes, just if you could find a programmer or go online or send me an email and I could possibly help point you in the right direction.
Dagmar?
Dagmar Sands. Does it work? Okay. Dagmar Sands from FIABCI USA, and I've got two questions. First of all, Judy, I want to thank you. John, you were the best. This is what I came here to St. Petersburg to get this kind of knowledge, and I think every FIABCI member, if they record it or if they have that information, you gave what I think technology and what we need in FIABCI. With Proxio, when I was the FIABCI USA president in 2008, I brought Proxio to FIABCI USA, and then Lisa took it on as a world president and brought it to FIABCI World. I have used Proxio as a listing tool. If I have 3 brokers that are going against me to get a listing, I get the listing because of Proxio and because of FIABCI. However, I have not yet heard a testimonial or figured out a way how to use Proxio as a selling tool. And I would love to get more testimonials. Who of all the brokers that are using it worldwide has actually done a deal and their phone rang and they closed that transaction. I know that we have brokers that are sitting in the hallway right now that said, I have 400 listings, but my phone hasn't ever rung one time. So I would love to work with Proxio and get that resolved and see how we can get the phone to ring and actually the buyers to contact us with our properties.
That's a really great point. That's a really great point. And one of the things... One of the areas that we don't talk about in this kind of presentation, and I wish I had, was that we build a lot of consumer-facing sites. You can actually go in as it was AppWeber? AWeber. AWeber, is a tool that generates a site for you and you can display content. Well, actually, Proxio does exactly the same thing. You can go in and actually create your own site with all of your listings, all of your network's listings, and actually go out and touch the consumer, and then collect all of your data and get the qualified lead basis and so on. So if you're interested in testimonials of people who have done this successfully, that's fine. We can organize that for you, but I think we need to change the conversation to actually educating the FIABCI members about how they can use this tool to create the environment for sales. That's what I think we need to do. And I'll start doing that tomorrow in our marketing session, you know, to talk about how we get out to the consumer and create those leads. But thank you.
Another question, please?
Always.
Common system to use your own computer is TeamViewer, that also allow you, also from the mobile, allow you also to conference and allow you to operate directly from your computer from everywhere. So I suggest maybe to add also this application that is usable by the mobile, for the iPad, for all our systems, that is very common and is very used also from other platforms.
Yes, on the, thank you, that's a good question. On the Go to My PC, there's a small fee for that, and what you can do is, if you have a computer at your office, when I went to New York City, it was my first trip that I had gone away without my laptop computer. It was like sending my child, you know, when you send your child off somewhere by themselves. I was like, I told my wife, I said, can I really leave with just my iPad? And amazingly, I did just fine. And so I left my computer on at the office with the Go to My PC, and I, for fun, just logged on, got a couple of files, and what I did, you can work on them from your computer, but the geeks, that we call them technology geeks. I'm an old guy now when I go to these. I know that I'm an old guy because I show up with a button-down shirt, and they all have flip-flops, which are sandals, and shorts on. But they all said they just get the file and move it over to Dropbox, and then they bring it up in Dropbox, and then they can work on it right there. So it's such an interesting way. I mean, I was up in my room and I was uploading files to my cloud computing, and many of you, I do a whole session on paperless environment, and I have a company I use called Net Documents. I would highly recommend. They work strictly with real estate companies and attorneys, but my whole entire office is paperless. And in fact, they have an app, and I can pull up any agreement in my office. We scan everything. My wife and I scan receipts, and if a client writes a note on a piece of paper, I scan it and put it in their file. But you can access your data anywhere like that. So, but it's Go to My PC, and thank you for that question.
Anyone else? Back here, microphone.
Okay, thank you. My question is to all of the speakers. Thank you very much for your presentations. It was amazing. And my question is about the reputation management in the internet, because we are doing our startup in this field for the development companies. And when I heard about your thoughts about what they need here in the field of the real estate, then you haven't mentioned anything about this thing. So if the companies in the real estate do need the reputation management and reputation check, the monitoring of the mentions in the internet of their names, of the names of the companies, of their projects, and of the properties which they sell. Thank you.
Okay. That's a wonderful question and a very timely topic. Thank you. And actually, I had part of that in my presentation. I took a bunch of slides out of my presentation because I was worried it was going to be too long. And so I'll put the full version in on the internet, but there's some very good solutions for reputation management. One easy management tool is to have a Google alert. If you've not set up a Google alert, set those up. For brokerage offices, you should set one up for every agent. I teach a couple of Council of Real Estate Brokerage Management courses, and I was telling a group about Google alerts, and one of the folks in the class told me after he set that up, about 3 weeks later, he started reading some information about one of his agents and some derogatory comments that were made not only about the agent but the office online. He said, John, I would have never found out about that had I not set up a Google alert for my agents. So I will add some information on the slides about reputation management because it is today it's something that we really have to be conscious of and aware of, as the internet can not only be a great tool, but it can be a tool that can give a black eye to an organization or a business.
The only thing I'd add on the Google alerts is make sure to do your projects as well and anything related to the project, because sometimes if you're not watching it, there can be some derogatory reports. One of the things that we have in a lot of multiple listings is there is an option in many of the multiple listing services to allow comments or not allow comments on the actual website about the property. And that's a conversation we believe that an effective listing agent needs to have with the seller as to whether that's advantageous or not. We've been surprised at the number of cases in which that is used by a buyer desirous of purchasing the property at a low price and writing lots of derogatory comments under many different names. So it is, in this new world, there are lots of opportunities and lots of challenges. One of the things that we're doing in our office is we're actually doing checks on buyer clients, doing Google alerts for them as well as the sellers and the property addresses. And it has been very, very eye-opening, genuinely eye-opening.
Any more questions back here?
I wanted to ask you about Dropbox and whether or not you've thought about completely going to iCloud for all of your email or all of your file storage. Within my company, we are limited to the amount of storage we can use for files, and I have a team of people that we work with, and we've started really using Dropbox because I was a big iDisk user, so now transferring over. And I got a new computer coming over, and I was just trying to figure out how to transfer everything quickly, and I was thinking to myself, why do I store anything anymore on a computer? It's so easy to access with all the different mobile devices that I was just wondering, is there a downside to that?
No, and that's actually the way I operate today is most everything is in the cloud. I would strongly encourage you, if you are going to store your client's information, there's nothing wrong with the Dropbox. And again, that's why I encourage you to have a 12-character password, because there are people that enjoy trying to hack into people's information. There are solutions, as I mentioned, like NetDocuments, they will customize a workspace for a real estate team or an office, and it's as reasonable as $30 a month for unlimited storage. And there's so many more security measures built into that. Plus, you can log in. When I was in France doing a presentation, one of my clients called from a bank. He was a bank president, and he had bank examiners there, and he could not find the copy of his listing agreement we had on some property. So he called, got my Google Voice. I got the text from him. I logged into NetDocuments, right-clicked the file, emailed it to him, and he had it within just moments. So with NetDocuments, you can put all of your files there. I can put my PowerPoint presentations there. But you're right, the cloud is really, it's the future, and you're going to see more and more companies move to the cloud.
I'd like to ask you a question, which is what I thought the young lady was asking. I use iCloud. I'm an avid Apple user. iCloud seems to do most of what you say Dropbox does. What is your opinion on that for iCloud users? Should we all coalesce around Dropbox, or?
And that's a great point, Robert. Actually, it doesn't, when I was speaking in Memphis a couple of weeks ago on paperless offices, there are so many solutions. Microsoft has SkyDrive. They're offering 25 gig of space right now. Google Drive, Dropbox, iCloud, they all are great solutions. And my thought is just pick one and use it. I use Dropbox personally. I also use iCloud, and I put certain files in there that I need. And so I think iCloud's wonderful, and I would, if you're already using it and like it, I would stay with it. Dropbox is good to share files with teams and among folks, but again, if you're going to take your real estate office totally paperless, I think you need to look at some other advanced solutions that provide a lot more security and support in that respect. Thank you. Yes.
The only other observation I make is that in the States right now, there are a lot of MLSs that are providing transaction platforms that are basically everything gets loaded up to the cloud and you pull down the file as you need it. What I really like about them is who has access is highly controlled. And that's really the security piece, I think, is going to remain the main challenge. I will tell you, today when I went to give my presentation, I tend to like to have my presentation in paper. It's just I'm comfortable with paper. And yet I tried to print it out and the printer wasn't working. So I used my iPad. And I didn't really use it, but I used my iPad. The issue is personal comfort. It's just this is what I'm used to. And what I find about technology is it's changing. So you want to make sure that the technology you engage, that you actually master. It's really, really nice to have 100 apps on here, but you really only need to have the apps that you engage. So I urge you that when you do put an app on, that you learn what it can do and make use of it. Otherwise, it should go in the china closet.
Yes, good point.
Any more questions?
Yes.
Sorry, I am using Carbonite, and nobody has spoken about Carbonite.
Yes. You are using Carbonite?
Yes,
or?
yes.
Yes.
What is the difference with Go to My PC and Carbonite?
Thank you for that question. Carbonite actually monitors your computer in the background, and every time you make a change to a file or a document, Carbonite backs it up to the cloud. And really, Go to My PC allows you to access files from your computer, but Carbonite does the same thing. So you could use Carbonite in replace of Go to My PC, whichever is your preference. The Carbonite runs around $60 a year, but it's a marvelous piece of software. And if you ever have a crash or your computer gets damaged, all your files are safe and secure. And I agree with Ron. I show a lot of apps, but there's only a handful I use. And there's one, I used it today, and I'm so glad I did. It's called Notability. It allows you to write and type, and you can record. So when I go on a listing presentation, I take notes, and I'm recording what the client says. But Mr. DeSoto today, there was a couple times I was taking notes, and I just hit the record button because I was so fascinated with his talk. So I not only took hand notes, but I recorded most of his speech. So it's called Notability. Notability. It's a wonderful app. So, yeah.
I saw it in action today. Back here.
The previous question was from the beautiful lady from New York. And because we are not in Moscow now, in the capital of Russia, but in St. Petersburg, I would like to ask the question just for Ron Phipps. Ron, if it's possible, your personal opinion, why real estate agents in New York, especially in Manhattan, don't use MLS?
What is actually interesting is that New York is the largest metropolitan market in the States, and historically they've not used it. Right now there are MLSs that are forming around it in the immediate area, and the market has been able to survive and thrive without the tool. Beyond that, I don't have a good answer. I have to be, and you're going to get it. You're going to get an answer that I'm going to quickly distance myself from. But I do want to say, though, is in spite of the fact that some people opt not to do things in what I would describe as the most market efficient way, it is the most market efficient. Go ahead.
Stand up, Danielle.
Can you hear me? Yes. I'm from New York City, and I've worked in other areas before, and when I moved to New York City, I was appalled that there was no MLS system. And that one of the reasons is because several large companies control the market, and they exchange the information among themselves, so they felt they didn't really need the MLS. However, in the past few years, all the borders of real estate disappeared. And it is now a fact that New York City, like Miami, like several other cities in the world, is thriving on foreign investors. We have Russians, we have Chinese, we have French, we have all sorts of nationalities coming to New York City. So now the large companies are rethinking their policy on MLS, because the system they have was a business-to-business system, not accessible necessarily to buyers. And now they're seeing that maybe up to 30% and more transactions are done to foreigners. So they realize that now the customer wants access, direct access to the information. And recently, my company, who's 150 years old, signed an agreement with the National Association of Realtors, and my listings, since 1 month, I think, are now on the national system, and I do receive now requests for information from, many other parts of the world, and I'm very pleased to report that the mentalities are changing because the world is changing, and there are no borders, and everybody wants direct access to the information without it being filtered by companies or politics or anything else. Was that good enough?
Thank you, thank you. I think, do you have any comments that you'd like to wrap up? I think since the bus leaves for the pre-dinner at 6:30, we should.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Thank you.
Okay, well, let's give them a round of applause. I think that was an excellent panel. Thank you.